Hello, this is Mr. Huff, and let's talk about rendering interior views. When you're outside, the rendering is simple because you have daylight outside. You can adjust the time of day to get your optimum lighting. But when you go inside, you might get a render that looks a lot like this. And the reason that it's doing this is you're only getting light from the light sources that are outside, so the interior looks dark. This is really helpful if you are wanting to see how the light passes into the room, say in the wintertime. But when you're trying to do an interior render, you need to add some light. An easy way to do that is to add a floor lamp. Some of the complications come in that some of the light fixtures have to be associated with ceilings and things like that, and you can try to figure it out if you want, but I'm going to show you two easy ways to get some light in here. So one is just get a floor lamp. So here I've added a couple of floor lamps in the space, and what that does for you, it throws some light so you can see the furnishings around you. And notice how it also keeps intact with, or keeps the shadows and things intact. And this makes sense, but sometimes you would end up putting lamps in places that don't make sense, like right here in the pathway to the kitchen. This makes sense in the corner. Let's say you're going to have some dining space here. Having a floor lamp in the corner is okay, but having it in a walkway is not okay. Another, and probably the best way to do this, is to use studio lights. And what studio lights do is they are in the space, but they don't have any fixture. They're just lights in an area that you define. And you can see you get a really nice bright rendering when you do that. So let's actually go do this. First thing you need to do is get the floor lamp and the studio light. You can try some of these others, but again, some of them require some structure that has to be there. So if you go to the libraries folder, so we went to Insert, Load Family, and we're in English Imperial. And what we're going to look at is lighting. So here's lighting. And I'm going to Architectural, Internal. And then we want to get the floor lamp. It's easier to see these with the thumbnails turned on. So here's a couple of floor lamps you can grab. And then the other one that we're interested in is the studio light. So you can load these floor lamps in and the studio lights, and that will give you some options. All right. So once you click those and load them, you're good to go. You can play with some of these other ones if you have time. Once you have those, you're going to place them through the Architecture tab as components. And let's just do that. So here I have a floor lamp, and you can also get the studio lamp. So what I've done is I've put a floor lamp here. So let's go render this image and see what it looks like. So I've added a couple of pieces of furniture and some entourage in here. So what I'm going to do is go up here to the little house. We're going to choose camera, and we're going to place it right here by this corner. And I'm looking here at this little section here. And so that's what I'm seeing. And you can adjust the view and angle and things like that. So I'm going to scoot this over a little bit, maybe pull this down. Maybe pull this down a little bit so I can see a little more of that couch. Alright, so there I can see a couch, a coffee table, a lamp, and a person. So now it's time to render. So once we have that done, we can go to View and Render. And on the lab computers, medium and high is where you want to live. So medium is good enough for what we're doing. Pay attention to this selection here for lighting. Right now it's sun only. So we're going to do interior, sun, and artificial. And then we're going to click render. Okay, so you can see in this case we have these windows here. That is, the light from those are overwhelming everything. So even with this lamp here, we're still not seeing the details that we would like to see. So what we're going to do, we could go through and maybe play with these settings using just artificial interior, but I think a better way is going to be to add some more lights in here. So I'm going to close the render for now. We're going to go to the floor plan. Actually, we're going to go to the ceiling floor plan. Okay, and I'm going to go to the room of interest, so I'm interested in this area here, and then we're going to go to architecture, component, and we're going to find the studio light. So I'm going to just search for studio, and here we have studio light. All right, so I know I want some light in this area here, so I'm going to just put like 3 because I really want to make sure we overwhelm the outside, and maybe 1 over the person and over the couch. So I have added a lot of light in that area. So now let's go back to that 3D view. And you can see right here at the top, we've got a little bit of light hanging down. So we're going to do a couple of things now. We're going to go back to View and Render. This time we're only going to choose Artificial Lights. All right, and let's hit Render and see how it goes. Okay, so you can see that by adding the studio lights and turning off the external light from the sun, we get a much brighter space. You can see the details on the couch and on the lamp and on the table. Note that the entourage is facing away from us, so let's go look at that in the floor plan so you know which way to point people. So apparently this little arrow here is showing where their face is. So if I wanted to turn her around, I would go click on that person there and click rotate, and we're just going to turn her this way so she's facing into the room. All right, back to view 2. So once we have this, though, be sure to hit export every time you get one you like. So I'm going to call this interior 4, and that way I have a record of what we've got. So if I re-render this, she will be facing into the room, and that will make a much more interesting view. Anyway, that's just a real quick look at how to render and set up your interior shots with some lights. Hope you find this helpful. Have a great day.